In areas where properties are typically costly, I've recently discovered that they seem even more expensive on Zillow. Welcome to the Financial Flow. Please like and subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to stay up on our latest videos. What can you tell me about the past year? It's unbelievable. Buyers are willing to pay 15 to 20% more than the asking price. A property in South San Francisco had 32 offers, but 31 bidders were quite dissatisfied. San Francisco has long served as a stark reminder of how tough it is to locate a reasonably priced home in the United States. Because of this, high cost of housing in the Bay Area and elsewhere, many Silicon Valley bus drivers and school instructors must sleep in their automobiles at night. Currently, the dearth of affordable housing in the United States is at an all-time high, and the situation is only getting worse. Over the past year, we've witnessed house prices soar to a level never seen before in American history. The median American home now costs $350,000. Rents have skyrocketed as a result, and homeownership has become out of reach for a large number of people in the United States. We need to know why this is occurring, and how to move the rocket ship closer to the ground. In today's housing market, we can conceive it as a supply and demand issue. On the supply side, there are several factors at play, including a generational shift in which who is purchasing homes. In the United States, millennials are the largest generation in American history, and they're entering their prime home buying years. Furthermore, mortgage rates are at historic lows, making it highly affordable to borrow the funds required to purchase a home. The problem is that demand for homes is outspacing supply. This has encouraged more individuals to buy if they can. Construction of a smaller entry-level housing for first-time homeowners has declined substantially from 2010 to 2019. This is the lowest level of construction since the 1960s in the United States, from 2010 to 2019. In the 1980s, these starter homes accounted for almost 40% of all new homes built today. It's closer to 7% of all new homes. US housing demand was estimated to be 2.5 million homes short in 2018. By 2020, that figure was expected to rise to 3.8 million. That's a huge part of the problem for both renters and people who want to acquire a home. If you're looking for a solution to the housing problem, building additional homes in the areas where demand is highest is a simple and effective one. One major hurdle stands in our way. We aren't permitted. See this map of the Bay Area for zoning or municipal restrictions that determine what can and cannot be constructed in a specific location. Areas shown in blue allow for multi-family housing. At the same time, those marked in pink are only permitted for single-family residences. This amounts to 80% of the Bay Area's residential land being zoned for single-family housing only. In other words, you've made it impossible for anyone to construct anything other than a single house on that plot of land. And in many places like Atherton, California, multi-family housing has been banned from their neighborhoods. That doesn't only mean a large apartment complex, but also things like duplexes, fourplexes, and other structures that aren't permitted in most areas of the country. It's an example of exclusionary zoning, which is a major factor in the US housing deficit, and single-family only zoning is just one way municipal regulations restrict the amount of housing we can create. In Cupertino, California, some locations are zoned for multifamily buildings, although they don't allow any buildings exceeding 2 stories in those regions. It is not uncommon for parking restrictions to be included in zoning regulations. Building an apartment complex with 100 units would necessitate reserving 200 parking spaces, which is why projects of this kind rarely get developed in Cupertino's city's limits. Because of the requirement, developers set aside room for 2 parking spaces for each multifamily housing unit. They reduce the amount of units they're building in order to save space for those parking spaces, and then those apartments are becoming more costly because the land still costs the developer the same. Because of this, you end up with a situation in which potentially more inexpensive units morph into higher income serving ones. One more requirement of many zoning rules is that builders must legally designate a minimum quantity of land to each residence, which is frequently a substantial amount of land. Most single-family lots in Cupertino must measure at least 5,000 square feet. You've effectively barred starter homes, which are typically between 1,400 and 1,500 square feet from the market. There are no more affordable homes to be built in Atherton, since the minimum lot size is 1 acre more than 43,000 square feet. Builders around the country are being pushed to concentrate on larger luxury homes rather than the modest starter homes or multifamily housing because of restrictive zoning restrictions like this one. By establishing gated communities in public areas, you're suggesting that our neighborhoods will only be home to those who have already been able to benefit from the country's wealth and have easy access to well-paying employment and higher education. Zoning regulations were originally designed to prevent people of color, particularly Black Americans, from living in predominantly white areas. Today's laws do not specifically address race, but they have the effect of deepening racial inequality. There is a paradoxical relationship between neighborhood whiteness and the density of single-family zoning in the San Francisco Bay Area. While demand for housing continues to rise, the amount of new housing being created is decreasing. Changes to local zoning ordinances can be challenging. In many cases, the most affluent residents act as the strongest roadblocks. Who shows up to these public hearings is typically a much whiter, wealthier demographic that says, "I really don't want this in my neighborhood. I am concerned about what will happen to property values," and then there's this kind of code-freeze neighborhood character. That's how the process is usually described. Teachers who can't afford to live in the countries where they teach, you may recall, are among those. In 2018, a school district in the area came up with a solution. San Jose parents protested against the construction of affordable housing units for teachers, resulting in a public outcry. If an affluent neighborhood blocks a multifamily development, it may not seem like a big deal, but the big problem is that it happens all the time. You know why I don't want to live in an area with 10,000 some apartment buildings. It doesn't make sense to do that, and no one is suggesting that there should be, 10,000-foot apartment buildings or anything like that in every neighborhood in every city. Minor changes to zoning laws can have an impact on the housing supply in some regions. For example, by making it easier to build smaller homes on smaller lots or just allowing duplexes. Single-family homes have been outlawed in a number of places around the country. The real fix will come when these decisions are made and regulated at the state or federal level in some capacity. In an effort to combat exclusionary zoning policies, the Biden administration has launched a $5 billion grant program to help localities repeal exclusionary zoning policies. However, this is more than any previous government, Democrat or Republican, has done on the issue. Also, it's a really minor issue on the context of the situation, and they want to take action, but they don't want to risk the kind of political backlash that often comes from high-value suburban voters. This country's housing crisis can only be solved by a concerted effort of the entire population, including politicians and residents alike, who must consider how they might make homeownership a reality for the millions of people who are currently priced out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Have a good one.